everybody, and welcome to our next edition of the SCHOTT Pharmaversity podcast. 1.3 billion people are injured annually by medication errors in the US alone. And also drug shortages may adversely affect patient care by compromising or delaying medical procedures. Well, this is a fact that is not only relevant in pandemic times, where hospitals are stretched to a maximum in terms of capacity, but also in non-pandemic times. So my name is Carolyn, and today with me, I have Mr. Mitch Bordenwerper, who is Business Development Manager at SCHOTT Pharma, and Mr. Keith Dodson, who is Vice President of the Global Business Development Management of AST. And both will give us today a short intro about what is important for compounding centers, or so-called 503Bs, having the need of optimizing drug preparation and also elevating hospital efficiencies in mind. So hello to the two of you. Are you there with me today?
Hey, Carolyn, thanks for having us.
Hello, Carolyn. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Great. So nice to have both of you here with me. And I would actually jump directly into my questions that I brought with me today. And maybe, Mitch, I address the first question into your direction. So a pandemic that we are currently experiencing, but also other situations, can lead to drug shortages. Can you tell us a bit about this challenge and maybe give a direction of how possible solutions can look like to help address the generic drug shortage and overall patient safety?
Absolutely. So drug shortages are becoming more frequent globally, not just in high-income countries, but we're also seeing it in middle and low-income countries as well. They also adversely affect patient care by compromising or delaying medical procedures. One of the other big problems that you mentioned is medication errors and overall patient safety. So medication errors account for $42 billion a year globally and attribute to 251,000 deaths in the US each year alone. So it's definitely a big problem that we see, and it's a problem that's just continuing to grow as well. So some of the things that they're doing, we see alternative regulatory pathways such as 503B compounders in the US and automatic filling in hospitals. This is something we see more in Europe. Or compounders are helping to alleviate these shortages by replacing the focus on the drugs that are on the shortage list. They're not only supplying more product, but they're using state-of-the-art primary packaging such as pre-filled syringes to make it safer for patients and saving hospitals money by generating less drug waste, reducing overfills, and then giving products longer shelf life. So these are some of the things that they're doing right now to try to alleviate this problem that we're seeing with drug shortage on a global scale.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for this explanation. And you just mentioned already the drug containment solutions for these drugs. When we have a look into the latest trends, we can see that the hospitals and also the 503B facilities transition more and more to pre-filled syringes, as you mentioned, and drug containment as a drug containment solution. And you already mentioned a few advantages that this brings, but can you just maybe shortly summarize again how you would explain this development and what is the advantage of using a PFS for the hospital surrounding compared to the more traditional way of using, for example, a vial plus a disposable syringe?
Absolutely. So the pre-filled syringes, as we mentioned before, increase patient safety. And some of the things that we look at here, reducing medication errors. So with the traditional vial and syringe, you see medication errors around 26%. We can cut that down to around 4% with no critical errors using pre-filled syringes because you take a lot of the user error out of it. So not only do we reduce medication errors, you're decreasing contamination because you're having less human interaction with these drugs. And so these pre-filled syringes come into the hospital, they're ready to use and ready to go. So a lot less likely to introduce contamination into the drug that we're putting into our patients. Not only is it safer, it's significantly faster. So in these emergency situations, we see pre-filled syringes on average are about 200 seconds quicker for prep and delivery time than your traditional vial and syringe. So all of these reasons are leading hospitals away from the traditional vial and syringe approach and leading more towards these pre-filled syringes. We're starting to see more and more of the advantages. And then as far as reducing drug waste, instead of getting this large vial in and only using a portion of it and having to throw the contents away, these pre-filled syringes, we're able to give them a pre-filled quantity so that they're able to use every bit of it. And there's very minimal drug waste whenever we're done giving these to the patients. Not only makes it safer, it also saves these hospitals money. So on average, we're seeing about $1.4 million saved per 100,000 injections in the hospitals. And so that's a significant savings, especially when we're seeing, one hospital in particular that we had an example of had nearly 900,000 injections. So by going to pre-filled syringes, it was able to save this hospital nearly $12 million a year in delivery cost, drug waste, and error reduction.
Wow, these are impressive numbers, I would say. So really, I can see the significance and importance here, and that can be achieved by using the PFS fact or the PFS as a solution here. So thanks for this one as well, Mitch. Maybe one more thing into your direction here and your question to you. Well, I guess there are different materials for syringe that can be used here, and COC. I think you mentioned it, and I think this is one possible material here. Can you maybe give us some or show us some reasons why this material has gained so much recognition and demand from hospital and compounders already now?
Yes. So before I jump into COC, just to kind of give a little bit of backstory as to why we're seeing some of the old practice phasing out and we're moving to COC is because the current manufacturing processes don't meet key requirements. And some of those key requirements are the fact that the current processes are highly manual and has a large potential to introduce human contamination, as we mentioned before. Manufacturing is also very slow and can't keep up with the market demand. And processes are not scalable for the high volume production quantities needed for growth on these drug shortages. And also the FDA is placing much more regulatory scrutiny, especially in 503B outsourcing, where currently polypropylene syringes are being used for pre-filled syringes. And that's something that the FDA is starting to crack down. So we're starting to see these compounders and these hospitals transitioning over to COC. But then when we actually look at COC, we see why it's a superior product. And one of the big reasons why they're converting over is because COC provides a long shelf life. We get a 2 to 3 year shelf life depending on what the stability of the drug shows. It's glass-like in a lot of its characteristics, but especially in its transparency. And so this enables fast and safe visual inspection. It's easy to sterilize, different sterilization methods tailored to each individual drug. And then the high impact resistance is kind of what sets it apart from glass. And we're starting to see it in these emergency situations and in hospitals because, hospitals like the idea that if the syringe does get knocked off, it's not going to shatter and there's not going to be glass laying around everywhere. So it does make a safer product as well. And then whenever we look at where these COC syringes are being filled, we see pharmaceutical companies using these, hospital pharmacies and compounders. So ideal for 503B and 505B applications. And one of the big reasons here, and on top of everything we mentioned before, is that now all of these environments have strict GMP environments, and so this enables a company to go into high-speed production, highly automated. And so that's where we've been working with Keith and with AST because they do a very good job with their high-speed filling capabilities, and it's become a perfect fit with our COC syringes.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. And in this moment, would like to thank you, Mitch, for giving us the input from your end here. And I would actually jump over to the point of the high-speed filling and the ability of COC that is well suited for the high-speed filling. And so I would go a little bit more into that automation and process topic here. And therefore, I would like to address my next question to Keith, actually. Well, I think that there are various factors that do influence 503B facilities when sourcing equipment for automating their fill and finish procedures compared to the manual filling. Keith, can you tell us a bit about the considerations that should be made here and that the 503Bs should have in mind?
Absolutely, Caroline. First, I want to say Mitch's comments were very helpful from an industry perspective, and I think what I'll be talking about is very complementary. In the 503 space, one of the things that we have discovered our clients are needing to address is the shifts in the regulatory guidances by the FDA in particular, and also the new regulations on the 503B type facilities. This impacts, again, their business models and how they're shifting from the past to the future, the types of products that are being made, the use of pre-filled syringes now versus just a vial product maybe in the past. And these 503B clients need to do risk mitigation and also balance their desired production scale and overall capability in terms of the types of products that they are looking to run in the coming years. So those are some of the key factors that we've seen that 503 facilities are considering when they're moving from a manual process to a more automated fill finish for their drug products.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there are a lot of considerations that needs to be made here, I understood. Maybe to go a bit deeper here and to build on the fact of having automated processes, I could imagine that also robotics play a certain role in the setup as they do in many other industries. So is this the case for 503B facilities as well, when they are having the automated drug fill and finish in mind, or when they want to set this one up?
Absolutely, that's truly the case. We touched about it briefly even in my first comment, where with the shifts in the business models, many 503Bs are now looking to add pre-filled syringes to their portfolio of products. That also means they need to continue to produce their previous products, which in many cases are vial products. So needing equipment that has flexible capability to run the mix of products that our clients have and wish to continue to support in the marketplace. And robotic lines offer that level of flexibility while at the same time achieving a good level of operational efficiency and ultimately value. Probably though more importantly, echoing to Mitch's comments on the risk of clinical challenges with dosing products, with vial products, human error, robotics are well known and well endorsed by the FDA because of their ability to reduce the human interaction with the drug fill finish process. Robots allow for very controlled manipulation of containers, controlled dosing, controlled closures, all driven to reduce the variability in drug product manufacturing, driving up the quality and reduction of risk on these filled products. So as mentioned, the use of robotics in fill finish increases not just the operational efficiency and the reduction in quality batch risks, but certainly for a 503B client, a key driver is also managing the overall drug production cost. And in our cases, our clients have seen that robotics ultimately yields a much more effective use of their capital spending to produce products at a lower cost of goods.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Yeah, great perspective to see that one as well. And having said this, Keith, from your end, I would actually address a last question to you, and then I think we're already close to the end of our podcast for today. Well, as the development into this direction of automated fill and finish for 503Bs has started a while ago, I guess you from AST have done a decent number of projects in this field already. Can you shortly summarize here what kind of interaction is needed between the relevant parties to scale production?
Absolutely. And one of the challenges that many 503B facilities face is that this is a new era, a new realm that they're trying to operate in. So many of the FDA regulations, the quality expectations are a step up from what they perhaps have been dealing with state regulations or just prior business practices. So what we have seen is many of the clients don't necessarily have a deep understanding of a traditional fill finish aseptic processing, the requirements, and being able to engage these clients to align what I call are really the three pillars for effective drug manufacturing. Pillar number one is the company's operational philosophy. How do they expect to operate? What's their quality philosophy? What's their overall business intent? Then, of course, you need to have the infrastructure within the client's facility. I mean, I'm talking about is the type of clean rooms, what grade of clean rooms do they have? What do they need? What's supporting infrastructure? All of this plays in line with the operational philosophy. And then along with the final pillar, which is the actual equipment that's being specified and installed to ultimately produce the products that our clients are wishing to bring to market. And with these 503B clients, I think having that collaboration and the ability to work through a variety of scenarios where not every client is the same, where you need to, you can adjust a line design to fit on particular, perhaps a strength in their infrastructure, or perhaps design a barrier system to accommodate perhaps a lower grade clean room, yet still maintain the full product quality guarantees that ultimately are needed to be successful. And all of this is also done in the context of what is the scale? I mean, are they needing a line that produces batch sizes of a few thousand units? Are they looking for batch sizes of 100,000 units? So the scale of the equipment being installed, are we overbuilding, underbuilding? Do they understand what their long-term expansion plan is? And that goes back to one of the first points with robotic and handling and flexibility of components, is that are you building an operation that can support not just vial products, but these pre-filled syringes, and also the pre-filled syringes at different dosing sizes. There's been a good example where a client might have a 1 ml syringe, but also realizes they need a 50 ml syringe. And those are very different from an equipment perspective and the handling aspect. So again, having a clear collaboration with our clients to understand their needs, not just for today, but what is their long-term need to build the equipment infrastructure that'll work within their company to deliver the products that they need to deliver to their clients in the years to come. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. So I understand the close cooperation here is key, definitely. And thank you very much, Keith, for this answer as well. And yeah, also Mitch, to you before. And as I mentioned, we're already close to the end of our podcast. And so I would like to thank both of you for taking part with us here today and to giving us all the answers. Very interesting. And summarizing, I can say that from what I've heard here today, there is a clear path into the direction of automated fill and finish in combination with a safe and easy to use high-end track containment like a COC PFS that is getting more and more in focus for the 503B facilities and the compounding centers. And that the switch to this setup has actually started, but that it will definitely get more and more important throughout the next years. So yeah, then I would like to thank you for that very informative session to both of you and also to everybody out there for joining today. And I would like to say to the audience, also feel free to also explore other sessions of our SCHOTT Pharmaversity podcast. I hope you enjoyed the session today. And here I can only say goodbye and hear you next time. Bye-bye.